have the old leaders done better? All leaders stand condemned in Nigeria. That's my point. I am not going to categorize along generational parameters to define behavior. All leaders, whether young or old, have fallen short of expectations, whether in terms of moral values or in terms of ability to govern. What are we talking about? Problems are not created overnight. All the problems that Nigeria is going through now, is anyone trying to tell me that they were created last year, 2 years ago? All these problems had always been there, ignored by leaders in office and leaders out of office. And then all of a sudden, they get now to a position where those problems are now challenging Nigeria instead of the other way around. If leaders had done what they should have done when they were in office, say starting from 1970, we wouldn't be where we are now, would we? People who preach to others should have clean hands and a clean conscience and a clean mouth. Where lawyers say you come to equity with clean hands. Well, if you're going to preach to others, make sure that you are preaching from a position that gives credibility.
Well, Mr. Chris Akiri joins us this morning. He's a legal practitioner, also chairman, editorial board of the National Daily Newspaper, also an author. Morning, and thank you for coming on this morning.
It's my pleasure every day.
Well, yes, you say the way it is, just as your book also did talk about. But we've seen comments coming through from former president, and he also spoke. So many others saying things, writing and talking about this leadership challenge that we had. Now they've gone generational. But you also you talk about history time and again. Talk us through some of these challenges. I mean, you've heard Bodija Kenyami, professor, speaking about, look, it shouldn't go generational. These problems didn't come overnight. And then I see people commenting already what happened during the former president's time. And then it all leaves us asking several questions about leadership.
Yes.
What do you think?
What do I think?
Yeah. About what the comments are?
You see, I read the comments made by the former president, President Obasanjo, during a lecture at the University of Ibadan. And I was miffed. I was flabbergasted. Add some other adjectives,
About what he said?
Yes, about what he said.
Why?
Why? Because to say that the young generation has created problems, socio-economic, political problems in Nigeria, and naming names presupposes the existence of an older generation that had trodden on the path of rectitude, on the path of righteousness. Now, but you take a look as a peep into history, to the contemporary history of Nigeria, there is no such generation, there is no such old generation that we could be talking about. So you see, when you compare the new generation, the young generation to the old generation, you're saying there was an older generation that used to be good, that brought sanity to bear on the body politic. Now, but it's not so. That comment, that statement, left so much, it left so much sour taste in the mouth, in the sense that you take a look at the message and the messenger, and that's what I did when I read that statement. I took a careful look at the message and the messenger.
Did you consider that perhaps some part of the message from the messenger might have been innocent representation of what he felt occurred at the time.
Yes, you see, if you take a look at the message, oh yes, that there is so much, we have so much atrocities in the land perpetrated by successive governments, successive politicians. There is no doubt about that. So that message was okay, except that when it brought the generation thing into it, I mean, that immediately, because before long, if we have the time, we are going to probe into history. You know, maybe before independence, during independence, since independence, throughout the military era to date. We probably might take a peep into what happened and then see whether the atrocities perpetrated during these periods, you know, were by young people or by graybeards, by which I mean, you know, septuagenarians, octogenarians, and so on. We will see, we will then discover who has actually laid the foundation for the ruin of this country. You see, now that the message. Yeah. If you take a look at the message, you will say, oh yeah, it has a point there. We have moved. I mean, I don't think it's proper to say we have moved from the sublime to the ridiculous, because there has been no sublime except that maybe during the First Republic there was kind of sanity. So to that extent you could say we have moved from the sublime to the ridiculous. Now then I take a look at the messenger. I mean, one could write a tome on the atrocities that we experienced between 1999 and 2007. So you see, when you make statements, you must criticize from a moral point of view. You must have the moral right to say something. Yeah, I feel bad when I listen to, you know, people who used to be in government, who made this nation ungovernable, who introduced rank, bad things into this country.
But if you look at some of the message,
yes,
which former president said,
yes,
he talks about the Salisu Buhari matter,
yes,
and the similar thing occurred in Lagos to the former governor,
yes,
and he perhaps seemingly suggesting that if we have to move forward, part of what we need to do is to shed this mindset, this mentality of this ethnic toga that we have on our hands. He said, when he came up in Lagos, some persons went to government college about him, took away all the documents to cover up, to show that it wasn't true.
Yes.
And he said, at the end of the day, for Salisu Buhari, they got him out.
Yes.
But for the Lagos, they buried it.
Yes. You see, they buried it. That depends. You see, the Salisu Buhari was removed from office as Speaker of the House of Representatives by the National Assembly, by the House of Representatives itself. Now, but that is different. That's Abuja. And then you come to Lagos, it's a different. The man was
the same thing.
Yeah, but the man was the chief executive officer of the state.
Did it matter?
Do you think?
Yes, it matters, and this is why it matters. You look at it from the legal angle of vision, then you discover that, you see, the point at which the Lagos person was accused of doing certain things or of omitting to do certain things, he was already governor. And you know, Section 308 has always been there. So that Section 308 is such a potent thing in the Constitution of Nigeria.
What about for Senate Presidents? Evans?
No, not protected. Yeah, they are not protected by anything. Section 308 does not protect anybody other than the president, the vice president, the governor, and the deputy governor. Finished. So, and this man here in Lagos was already a governor. You could not arrest him. You could not charge him to court.
But
you
could impeach him. I mean, what they did to Salisu Buhari was impeachment.
You could impeach him, but you see, if he was not impeached by the people, you know, the type of assemblies, state assemblies that we have in this country, dance to the tune of.
Yeah, but isn't that part of the error that he was pointing out? Because while he was there, he had access to loads of information which others who, maybe not citizens, didn't have.
I know, but you see, saying that, everybody shouted at that time. Gani Fawehinmi of this world, everybody said, why should this? In fact, Gani Fawehinmi had to go to court, if I remember correctly, over this Lagos matter. He had to go to court. I mean, he was a Yoruba person. He had to go to court over this matter. Now, other people shouted hoarse over this matter. Now, but the thing is that the State Assembly couldn't do what the National Assembly did to Salisu Buhari, because that was National Assembly. This was State House of Assembly.
Let me quickly drop this in.
Yes.
For those who were, for those who were watching across the country,
yes,
the younger generation,
yes,
do you think it came across to them as though justice had been done and perhaps sins had been done? If the same thing that happened for Salisu Buhari and the way it went, and then the way it went with the Lagos State government.
You see, nobody saw that justice was ever done or seen to have been done in the Lagos matter. Now, but the question is, the problem is, Nigeria is a federation. So what happened at the